Okay, here I've got a 5/8 shot set up just to show what I mean in the Poolology book about a touch of English. I've drawn lines on this old cue ball here so we can see what's going on. There's straight center to center. I mean, not center to center, but center to my 5/8 aim point is right there. My tip is fully inside the edge of the object ball where the left-hand side of my shaft is flush with the outside of the ball. So it's just like that. So straight through the center is right there at my aim point. I could go top or draw, staying on this vertical line, and nothing changes. I mean, unless I stun the ball, just shooting straight center and sliding in, I'm going to throw the ball off, it's going to hit the end rail. But when I say a touch of English, I mean about that much of a movement. It's about 1/8 of an inch from the center line. It's about a quarter tip, if that much. What I mean by that is a half a tip looks like this. If here's center, half a tip to the right would put the half a tip to the right would put the left side of my shaft flush with that vertical center of the cue ball. There's center splitting my tip, half a tip to the right. Now half a tip to the left puts the right side of my tip flush with that vertical line. So a touch of English would be just a little bit like that. Not a full half, but it's about a quarter of my tip is still hanging over top of that center line. Now naturally a full tip would be from here, a full tip left would be there. Putting one full tip here, leaving enough room to put another full tip there if I had an extra shaft. And then a full tip of right is right there. I wouldn't exceed that. You can do a lot of things with one tip of English, you know. That right there is bottom right. The horizontal line is flush with the top of my shaft. The vertical line is flush with the left of my shaft, so that's a half tip of bottom right. Full tip of bottom right would be right here. Taking a chance on miscuing when you get way down in there. So you make sure you chalk your cue properly by brushing it on the sides. Do not bore a hole through the chalk like a novice. So this is a 5/8 shot. If I wanted to shoot it firm, I'm going to slide into the 7 and push it into the rail, which we've talked about in another video. So when I say to apply a touch of left spin to keep from pushing that ball and to reduce the friction, I mean doing it like this. There's my aim. I'm just going to put just that much. It's about a quarter of a tip of left-hand spin. So you can get used to spinning balls in with just a little bit of spin on the cue ball. Now I can throw another ball out here real quick and show that this can be used in a lot of different situations. Let's put a ball way out here like that. This is a 9-foot table. Now you can see this is not lined straight into the pocket. It's probably about 1/8 of a ball aim. If I aim for the 7/8 aim point, I'm going to make it. But I could also aim straight at the center of that 5 ball and put about a half a tip of right-hand spin. It's all feel, and that's what takes experience to get used to it. A half a tip may even be too much from here. Let's see. If I aim center to center, like that, camera angle's not exactly right on with it, but I'm just going to put a half a tip of right-hand spin. And I was able to throw the ball to the left without actually aiming away from the center. I did actually aim away from it by applying that right hand little pivot and putting that little bit of spin on the ball. It forced the cue ball to the right a little bit, which ended up cutting the 5 just enough, but also helps throw the 5 to the left. That's something you have to experiment with. It's not in the book. You just have to get used to doing it. That's not really part of aiming. It's part of the feel that you soon develop just from hitting balls. You start getting a feel for certain shots. Shots will come up that you're thinking, well, this is kind of in between this shot would be in between a half ball and a 3/4 ball. So I could shoot it with a 5/8 and I can make it. But if I have to tweak it, I know I can put just a touch of spin, like 1/8 of an inch from the center of this ball to the left, and probably aim right at the 3/4. The camera contraption's in my way from this angle, but I could still do it. I could set the ball up and just slightly adjust it on the cue ball end with a tiny bit of a move from away from the center, and that would give me almost 1/8 of an aim point on the ball. I mean, let's see if we can do it from, get out of the way of the camera. Like this here is a half ball. Now once I would get beyond a half ball, the fullness of the hit is not going to be thick enough for this little bit of English to affect it. I'll have to use a full tip or a good half tip or 3/4 tip of English to make the difference on a half ball. But if you're full, anywhere between a 5/8 and a straight in shot, you can really change the angle of this ball by 5 to 7 degrees just by using a touch of left or right spin on the ball. Maybe I can get it out of the camera angle. Let's just move it back here. I'm not worried about it. So let's put it right there. So from right here, I'm in between a 5/8 and a half. The half ball shot would be here. The 5/8 shot is there. I can aim at the 5/8, put a touch of left hand spin on this ball. I'm going to float through it so I don't scratch. I'm going to aim right at the 5/8, come up here and put just a touch of top left. And you can fine tune your aiming with just little tiny bits of off center English. It's not really a half a tip, but experiment with that and you can do a lot more with a half a tip and really manipulate shots. Unfortunately, you can also miss a lot of shots the more you try to use that, but it comes in handy when you really need it.